What on earth is this? Have some shame! Without hearing my side, mother-in-law is yelling at the top of her lungs, her face red with anger. The reason she is fuming like a raging fire? It's because of the flashy underwear hanging on the balcony. But I don't recognize those undergarments. In fact, even the size isn't mine. Yet mother-in-law keeps accusing me, without doubt, calling them disgusting and in bad taste. I couldn't stand mother-in-law anymore and finally burst out. Those aren't mine. Huh? Mother-in-law and I stared at each other, frozen in place. A few hours later, an unbelievable truth would emerge. My name is Eleanor, 28 years old. I work for a clothing company, mainly in charge of designing and planning products. For the past few years, I've been consigning products to various online shopping sites. I'm always busy creating new products. My husband's name is Kevin, 30, 2 years older than me. I met him when I was 25 through a mutual friend, and it evolved into a relationship. After dating for a year, we got married 2 years ago. Kevin is usually calm and goes at his own pace. On the other hand, I'm pretty impatient, so I think we balance each other out. I truly felt blessed to be married and spend my time with him. Due to work, I often travel on business trips. This means I'm frequently away from home. I had explained the situation before we got married, and Kevin understood. However, about a year after our marriage, mother-in-law started complaining about it. Eleanor, you left the house for 3 days again? When I returned from a trip, mother-in-law was nagging me with a disapproving tone. Oh, mother-in-law, why are you here? What do you mean? Can't I visit my son's house? I heard you were away for work, so I came to help with the housework. Ah, thank you, but it's common for me to be away for 3 days and Kevin can manage on his own. What? You should know it's always been the woman's job to take care of the home, yet you always… She glared at me, her face flushed, as if I was the one at fault. I always struggled with mother-in-law's direct and blunt personality. During family meetings, she never missed a chance to nag, making me apprehensive even before marrying. But I thought, I won't be living with her, and as long as I can be with my beloved Kevin. So I decided to marry him. Yet, I never imagined she'd complain this much just because I had to go on a few days of business trips. From that day, every time I went to a business trip, she'd show up at our home. While I appreciated her looking after Kevin while I was away, the reprimand I'd get upon returning became routine. 2 years into the marriage, and she hasn't changed. Today, I returned from a 2-day business trip only to be greeted by her intimidating face. Eleanor, why did you go on another business trip? I mean, it's my job. Huh? Job? What do you even do? Or are you pretending it's work and actually having fun? What? Why would you say that? Well, Kevin's a good boy. He wouldn't doubt you, so someone has to keep you in line. With that, she enthusiastically started preparing dinner. She didn't leave until after 11 p.m. Her constant complaints about everything made it unbearable. I let this moment pass. The cycle would just repeat. Thinking this, I approached Kevin, who was relaxing with a beer after his bath. Kevin, can we talk? What? I've got work tomorrow. I wanted to sleep after this drink. I'm sorry, but this is important. Seeing my serious expression, he reluctantly set down his beer and asked, What's up? It's about your mom. Can you ask her not to come over every time I'm on a business trip? Why? She's just helping out with chores when you're not around. It's helpful, isn't it? It might be for you, But I can't handle her constant digs at me anymore. Today she even implied I lied about work to go have fun. She probably didn't mean anything by it. And it's not like I'm asking her to come. She's doing it on her own. Shouldn't you be grateful? What are you saying? It's not about him asking or not asking. I just wanted him to understand how uncomfortable it makes me feel. The moment he said be grateful, I realized he sided with his mother. He doesn't understand the gravity of the situation, and I was deeply frustrated. However, backing down now would mean nothing. I carefully chose my words and explained my feelings to my husband again. Please, can't you take this a bit more seriously? Think about how I feel, being criticized every time I return from a business trip. Hey, what's gotten into you, Eleanor? You've never said anything like this before. That's because she's Kevin's mom, the one I love. That's why I've been putting up with it all this time. But I've reached my limit. I can't stand her bossing me around anymore. What are you talking about? You make it sound like my mom's kindness is a bother. I didn't think you were like that, Eleanor. He downed the bear on his desk and stormed out of the living room. Why? We weren't done talking. Left alone in the room, an indescribable emptiness overwhelmed me. No matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't figure out the right words to reach him. I thought Kevin would understand if I confided in him. If things keep going like this, nothing will change. If his mom is there the next time I return from a business trip, I decided in my heart that next time we'd have a proper one-on-one conversation. A few weeks later, I have to leave for a 3-day business trip. Before leaving the house, I cautiously approached my husband. Kevin, your mom, she's not coming today, right? This again? Talking about my mom? Just answer me. I hope you haven't invited her. Stop nagging me. How I spend my time when you're not here is my business. Stop trying to control everything. He yelled and let out an irritated sigh. Even when I called out, I'm leaving now, he ignored me. In the end, I left for the business trip, not knowing if his mother would come. Even as I was working away from home, thoughts of her kept creeping into my mind. Though I used to focus on my job without any concerns, now I was completely distracted. I was surprised at how mentally drained I felt, but I couldn't back down now. As I had decided earlier, if his mom is at home next time, we'll definitely have a proper talk. That resolution remained unchanged. When I returned from my business trip, I opened the front door with trepidation. And as I had expected, I saw his mother's shoes in the entrance. She was cheerfully singing and cooking in the kitchen. She seemed to notice my footsteps and turned around before I could greet her. "Oh, Eleanor, it seems like you've been out playing for days, haven't you? Did you have fun?" I was instantly annoyed by her phrase. Out playing. I wasn't playing, I was just working. Oh, making excuses again? You're such a hopeless wife, always talking big. That's what happens when a woman works outside. She sighed dramatically and glared at me. Though I flinched at her sharp gaze for a moment, I gathered my courage and initiated the conversation. I have something to talk to you about today. Oh, perfect timing. I have something to tell you as well. What? Mother-in-law forcefully grabbed my hand and dragged me to the balcony. Pointing at the laundry hanging there, she demanded with a fiery tone, "Mind explaining this? What is this?" That should be my line. What is this mess? Have you some decency? What mother-in-law pointed at were several flashy pieces of underwear hanging out to dry. They were adorned with bright red and pink lace, drawing immediate attention. They covered the bare minimum. Mother-in-law's face turned bright red as she yelled at me. "You're trying to seduce other men with these, aren't you?" "Hold on, mother-in-law. Just calm down for a second. How can I possibly stay calm with these? Hiding such indecent underwear in Kevin's room. Did you think you wouldn't get caught? No, listen. Such disgusting taste in underwear. This isn't Kevin's style at all. You have such terrible taste. Are you having an affair? Who is it? Tell me." "It's not like that. Please, just listen to me. No more excuses. We never should have let Kevin marry someone like you. I expect you to divorce him immediately. Do you understand? You hussy." At that moment, all the negative emotions I had held back surged forth. Before I knew it, I had thrown my bag on the floor and was glaring fiercely at mother-in-law. "What's with that look?" With a tone as cold as ice, I replied to the emotional mother-in-law, "These aren't mine." Time seemed to freeze at those words. With a deer-in-the-headlights expression, mother-in-law stood still. Clearing up the facts, I said, "Mother-in-law, I think there has been a misunderstanding. Those aren't my underwear. I don't wear such bright colors, and the size isn't even right." "What are you talking about? Then whose underwear is this?" "I saw them for the first time today. Didn't you say earlier they were found in Kevin's room?" "Well, yes. I thought I'd help him pick out some fall clothes, so I was organizing his closet. That's when I found a bag at the back and these came out of it." "Oh, really? Well, I don't know anything about it. Let's wait for him to come home." Mother-in-law, as if she had come to some realization, went pale and sat on the sofa. Of course, I had a bad feeling about it too, yet I acted strong, not showing mother-in-law my unease. An hour later, with a casual "I'm home," my husband returned. As he entered the living room, I planted myself firmly in front of him, looking stern. "What's going on, Eleanor? And why is Mom here too? Did you two have a fight or something?" "It's not that. Mother-in-law and I have something we need to ask you." "Me?" Kevin looked stunned. I threw at him the underwear that had been drying on the balcony. His face turned pale instantly upon seeing them. Without missing a beat, I confronted him. "What's the meaning of this? Mother-in-law said she found this in Kevin's room." I mean, they're obviously for women. When, where, and why did you buy these? Care to explain?" I'm really sorry." Kevin began an overly exaggerated apology. Taking a deep breath, he started to explain. According to him, he had been dating a younger woman from his office for a year. He bought underwear to his taste and had her wear them whenever they met. They enjoyed this little game every time. When I was away on business, he had mother-in-law come over just for the last day to help with the piled-up chores. All other days, he invited his affair partner to our home and had her wear that lingerie. He probably never thought I'd found out. His voice quivered throughout, and tears seemed to form in his eyes. While I stared at Kevin with a disgusted look, mother-in-law watched him with concern. Suddenly, mother-in-law shouted at me. "Enough is enough. Why are you pushing Kevin like this? What's your aim?" "Excuse me? I'm just asking for an explanation. It's because you're not appealing enough that Kevin's affections shifted to someone else. It's all your fault, always working and never being there." "And so what?" I shot back at mother-in-law. "Is there some rule that it's okay to cheat while one's wife is immersed in her job?" Well, even now, mother-in-law tried to defend her cheating son. I yelled at her. "You two are unbelievable. Your son is the one who cheated, and yet you dare to say something like you're not appealing enough? No matter the reason, there is no excuse for cheating. I get it, just calm down. Really? From which mouth are you saying that? This is the result of you raising your son to be a mama's boy, isn't it? Shouldn't you be scolding him first? I sighed deeply. Anyway, I should thank you, because you found that flashy laundry. I can now file for a divorce that works in my favor. Divorce? Did you say divorce? Kevin finally reacted. Please, forgive me. Haven't I apologized enough? A divorce will ruin my career. Mother-in-law desperately chimed in. Exactly. Divorcing over just an affair. You are simply not tolerant enough. A wife should forgive her husband's little affairs. Just an affair? I'm not the unfortunate wife who tolerates her husband's cheating. I'll make sure to get every penny in the divorce settlement. Be prepared, you worthless mother and son duo. Right after that, I packed all my belongings and left the house. Once I found a new place and settled in, I contacted a lawyer about the divorce and compensation. I demanded compensation not just from my husband, but also from the woman he cheated with. Turns out, she was a junior colleague at his workplace. A co-worker spotted them arguing about the conversation. And news of their affair spread like wildfire in the office. They were instantly treated with disdain. Unable to handle the office gossip, she resigned on her own. Meanwhile, Kevin had to stay at his job just because of the compensation he owed. Still, his reputation plummeted, and all his hard work over the years seemed to wash away. The position he'd worked so hard for collapsed, and I heard he's now stuck in a deep-end job. But even more tragic was the fate of his mother-in-law. She got exposed for harassing me and for defending her cheating son. Her husband, father-in-law, found out and apparently served her with divorce papers. She was kicked out of the home they had shared and went to stay with Kevin in his apartment. But, struggling with rent, Kevin and mother-in-law had to move into a smaller place together. They constantly blame each other for their misfortunes, maintaining their usual toxic relationship. It seems it's only a matter of time before they self-destruct. As for me, I'm back to enjoying the freedom of being single. I want to continue my job without any hesitation and live a life I'm truly content with.